Okay, you're live.
I'm live. All right. Welcome all again. Welcome to our people who are watching our stream. Blessings to you too. Will you all please pray with me, please? Dear God, may my words and meditations and the meditations of all our hearts be here now and give us what we need. In your many names, amen.
Amen.
January is a month that starts us out with an opportunity to make some changes. A lot of changes. We make those New Year's resolutions, usually about things that are known to us. They are usually things that we are in control of, to some degree anyway, such as exercising more, losing weight, eating healthier, giving up, fill in the blank here, traveling more, and you basically get the idea. Now, some of you may have been able to start doing these resolutions and keeping them, and that's good. I'm going to speculate, though, that you who are doing them, because lots of us make them but don't always follow through, you chose them for yourself, and not because you were pleasing someone else, maybe a spouse, or because you ought to do it. And someone told you to do it, and that's why you're doing it. That's not much motivation. We are more reluctant to make change when we feel it's really not our choice. So it's okay if that's your experience too. But all these resolutions are known changes, I'm going to call them, relatively under our control. But what about our attitude toward change when it's sudden and unknown results? Now, I am not talking at all today about people who have difficulty with change due to conditions such as anxiety or other mental illnesses or any other problems. I'm not really picking on those people, not trying to, but I'm talking more generally as how we react to change as human beings, especially in this day and age when we have so many changes around us. So what about those changes for something that suddenly presents itself to us and mostly is unknown and probably we are much less in control? An example here is we become aware of a much better job with much better pay, and that suits us. But it's going to mean we have to move to another state or maybe even another country and only have a very short time to make this decision. Or maybe you have wanted to work more to help others in a cause or people, such as running and starting up your own a food pantry where it's needed, or maybe building and forming or participating in a community job training place to help people get jobs that don't have those skills, or may have a record or something else that keeps them from getting good jobs, or help a good candidate, in your opinion, get elected. Then one of those opportunities does come up unexpectedly to do just what you want, but this is going to require you to work less. Can you make that change to work less, maybe give up some things? You don't need all those premium channels. Do you want all those premium channels on your cable or satellite? Or do you want to do what your heart is calling you to? To be able to take this change, could you do it? Well, I chose the Matthew reading today because we have some fishers of persons facing these unknown and sometimes pretty large choices when they encounter Jesus. To really get a sense of how this might have been for them, it's time now to use your imaginations. And I do want you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes and just kind of let yourself go a little bit and try to put you in the fisher person's shoes. Imagine yourself as this fisher person living in Jesus' time. You probably are living with relatives in a relatively small house. You need to go out early every morning, and probably several times actually, if things aren't good for the fishing, because you need those catches to bring in your source of money, and that's just enough for the basics. This isn't a Fortune 500 job. Fishing is what you know, and this is the only life you've known. Now, but it does give you a place to live and some food. It's hard work. It's probably not pleasant work. It's smelly work, but there is security in it. Now, then you hear people in the area, maybe people on the shore, maybe when you take your fish in your village, talking about this man who might be called Jesus. You're not sure. And he's going around and he's talking to the people about Jehovah and doing some pretty miraculous things, some pretty unusual things. He is actually healing people that you've known to have illness for days or years. He's healing physically disabled people. There are people who are blind who are seeing. He has also been talking to women in public that aren't his family, which was pretty much a taboo in those days, in that culture. He's breaking customs. He's teaching on Torah. He's doing all kinds of things that are very different. And he's leading him by helping others, not demanding things from them. He's helping people. He's asking really for nothing, except for you maybe to stay and listen. He's teaching people to help each other. He's encouraging people to care for each other and not only themselves. This isn't like anyone that you might have seen before or heard before in your area. These are new ideas, probably. Not to everyone, but to most people. And especially not like the other religious leaders they've had in their place, or the Romans. Okay, so then the next morning now, you are out, casting your net out, doing your usual routine to go fishing, and you see this man. And someone calls out, Jesus! And you see him coming towards the beach. And then you realize this is the man they've been talking about. This is the one who people are starting to follow. Now maybe your first thought, so he gets up to you, and your other fisher person with you, and he tells you, I want you to come and be fishers of persons. I want you to put your nets down and come with me and follow me for a different way. Well, maybe your first thoughts are on this change he's asking you to do are, what? Is he crazy? This is my family, and now I eat and I have a roof over my head at least. I'm going to go with this man I don't know? Yeah, he's doing some pretty great things, but I don't know him. I'm going to go out with him? Or maybe you have a different pattern in your mind when you're doing this. Maybe you're thinking, well, this may be my chance to leave. Fishing isn't exactly the only thing I ever want to do with my life. I've always dreamed of being able to travel, but maybe I can. Maybe this is something different. Now think a minute just about what you as this fisher person would think here. Just think about it. How would you react to this kind of offer? This is what the disciples in our reading we heard about today face. And they might have had some of the same thoughts you and I might have at this. But at the end, they took the plunge into the unknown change. Now, come out of this imagination and think about who Jesus is. That Jesus might have been able to inspire them to take that scary plunge, or maybe good plunge in some cases. I mentioned in our imagination of many things that Jesus did that broke custom and were genuinely not about him seeking power or glory, but treating people mostly as equals. And encouraging them around him to do as he does. Teaching out of temple about God and not an official rabbi was not the normal way things went back then in the Jewish communities. Jesus was very, very different from other leaders they had encountered. And I say that once again, he is very different, very different. This was probably very appealing, though, to those young fisher persons. I'm kind of assuming they're on the younger side because this is very heavy physical work. I don't know if you ever picked up a fish net full of fish. It's pretty darn heavy, even if you're just doing a hand net. But it's heavy, physical, demanding work. So I kind of doubt there were too many really elderly fishermen or persons for that day. And this was not someone waiting to use them too. This was following someone who wasn't going to use them, didn't seem, and other people were following him. There was something really special going on here, is probably what they were thinking. We don't really know. It does kind of say in the passage that they did this kind of immediately. Maybe they didn't have to ponder it because they'd heard so much, but we don't really know. Now, Jesus was giving them a chance to go places too. This probably was appealing to them too, because in that day, only the rich really got to travel in any near fashion as we know it. You probably stayed in your village, you did your job, you might have walked 10 miles to see a cousin, but that was about it. You really didn't get to go around. This then speaks to me to remind us that we need to learn to let go sometimes of fear and not avoid when we are presented with some changes. That we have before us that maybe we even have wanted in our minds but never had, but are kind of afraid to explore them. And these changes might even be for the greater good for others as well as ourselves, if we just can imagine ourselves allowing it. It calls us out of our comfort zone, of our little hobbit holes. It may make it appear selfish if we avoid the change that might help others. And this is the attitude that you might see portrayed in the Hobbits and Lords of the Rings, especially when Samwise Gamgee says to his friend Frodo, "It's a very dangerous business going out of your front door, Mr. Frodo." The message, I think, with that is that by considering many of the examples we have of how Jesus dealt and offered change in his ministry, we can avoid being selfish and self-centered by not avoiding change or doing something different when it's offered to us. We all have help too. We are not alone when we embrace a new change. Change also is not only it has to be a huge life-altering move or doing a different job or giving up money, things that in this era, in this world, are to us seem to be, to most people, be very big changes. There are many forms of change that are a lot different and a lot smaller in a way, but just as significant. Change can be shifting your attitude and showing it in your actions and your interactions with others, and maybe with others you haven't always gotten along with. Doing random acts of kindness is giving a change possibly to someone else. You don't know what that just might mean in their future. Being kind to someone you never agree with. Acknowledging someone on the street you do not know who seems to be ostracized by most others, because of how they dress or smell or talk or yell. You're saying something to that person and acknowledging them as a person positively could start something they need that you will probably never know its effect. When you are open to these changes, you often can receive and are open to receiving, maybe for the first time, things and gifts and needs met that you didn't even realize you needed to be met. So when the next change opportunity comes before you, will you plunge in, move with it, and join the dance? Or will you just sit it out? Please listen now to this video for what I hope you do.